Hi, I'm MacGybo. Today we're going to be talking about scan probes and launchers.
MacGybo.
Now you get two different flavours of probes when it comes to scanning stuff down. You get scanner probes and combat probes. Scanner probes are just used for probing down cosmic signatures, which is your bog standard wormholes, data and relic sites, some combat sigs, some event sigs. And the other type is combat probes, which as well as being able to scan down cosmic sigs, also scans down ships, both player and NPC, structures, drones and deployables, things like mobile tractor units, mobile depots, etc. Now your basic probes, your scanner probes, can be used with any type of probe launcher, but your combat probes can only be used with an expanded probe launcher. Now, all of the probes come with a basic base sensor strength, which can be improved by skills, ship bonuses, additional mods, implants, and then you can get faction probes which start with a higher base sensor strength as well. The probe launchers themselves take up a high power slot. A core probe launcher 1 has base CPU usage of 15 TF. The expanded probe launcher has 220 TF. They both use power grid of 1 MW. You can get faction variants of both types of launchers called sisters, which perform better but an increased cost. So to use a core probe launcher 1 and probes, you need Astrometrics trained to 1 and science to 3, so brand new alpha character can use it. The expanded probe launcher 1, Astrometrics at 2. There are scanning related skills which we'll talk about later on. For just now, we're going to talk about the ships, frigate sized, that you should be using when you're scanning. The standard frigates are the Magnate, which is Amarr, Heron, which is Caldari, Imicus, which is Gallente, and the Probe, which is Minmatar. They all offer bonuses to probe strength and also for relic and data analyzers. The faction variety of each of these ships has a 99% reduction in CPU requirement for the scan probe launcher, giving you a lot more flexibility in your fits. For the standard frigates, you could fit an expanded launcher on each of the ships, but you wouldn't have much CPU left for anything else. Next is the Astero, which is the pirate frigate, which has a roll bonus giving probes a huge boost in strength. Going up from the standard frigates, we have covert ops ships. The Anathema is Amarr, Buzzard is Caldari, Helios is Gallente, and Cheetah is Minmatar. They have bigger bonuses to probe strength, probe accuracy, and also offer bonuses for relic and data analyzers. You can also fit covert ops cloaks to these ships, giving them the potential for safer exploration. So let's get down to actually scanning something. So each of the fits that I would recommend can be found in EveOnline in fitting management. If you go to fitting and then hulls and fits and search for Explorer, then you'll see that for each of the standard ships there's an Air Explorer fit, which will give you everything that you need to start off with your exploring. So here's the Magnate. It's got the all-important probe launcher in the high power slot, and that's all we need to get started. So let's undock. So to scan, you need to be undocked, which may seem obvious, but it's worth pointing out. Now to open up the screen that you need, you click on Scanners and then Probe Scanner, or do Alt and P. Now for you this screen may open up full screen, but that's fine. There's options up here to make it float, but for now we'll make it full screen again. Now the warning down here is that there are no probes launched, and there's a big hint for you. In order to use probes, they need to be out in space, so we launch them. And they've appeared here. Now these are the controls that you need to know. The probe size tells you the area that's covered by the probe bubbles, and each one of these represents a different probe. There's 8 out, which is usually what you'll be using. Now the larger the probe bubble is, the more it'll be able to capture, but the less accurate the result will be. Ultimately what you want to do is start wide and then narrow in on a particular area, which is what we'll do just now. Now there are 2 cosmic signatures here in this solar system. So we'll start, and they've all got their own IDs. So we'll start with the top one, which is CIT-096. And if you double click on it, then your focus will be on that object. You can move the center of your probe's focus around using these controls. Now that looks like it's right on it, but remember we're operating in 3D here, so you need to look and see it from the other angle as well, and make sure that your probes are round and about the anomaly that you want to probe. So we're starting at 16 AU, and that's pretty big. It's narrowed it into 26% signal. You need 100% to be able to warp to it or bookmark it. So what we'll do is we'll just move that back over, right over the top, and you can use your mouse wheel if you have one to focus out or in, and again just double click to bring that to the center of the screen. Now we've done it at 16 AU, we're not going to get any more of an accurate response by scanning at 16 AU size again. So let's bring it down to 4 AU and ensure just there that we're still right on it. And then we'll click Analyze, and then the probes will probe again. They will move into the area that you've asked them to be on and do their thing. And there we go, that's nailed that. There's 3 different factors at play in trying to scan something down. There is scan deviation, which is how accurate your scan's going to be. There's the scan time of the probes, speed up the amount of time it takes for the probe to do its job. And there's the scan strength, which will again give you better results, more focused results. Sometimes you could be right on something, and if your skills aren't good enough, you'll just not be able to scan something down. So let's take a look at the other signature that's in this system. Now this is interesting. When you see it's got 2 dots and a line between them, what that means is that what you have scanned has not been accurate enough to pinpoint. It could be in either of those 2 locations. So what you could just do is move it up to, in this case, 8 AU and try and capture the midpoint, and then analyze it, and it'll give you a better idea of which of these 2 dots we should be focusing in on. Now before I jump ahead to that one, let me just tell you that because we fully scanned down the CIT one, we can right click on it and warp to it, or we can save the location for later on. What I'm going to do is save that and put it in a folder I've got called Signatures, which I share with the rest of my alliance. So let's move back to EBE, and we'll move this down to 2 AU. If you've got better strengths, you don't need to move down one at a time. Now this scanning in principle is the same for if you're using combat scans as well. Now we've gone off a bit there. Now I mentioned to you before that we've got to remember that we're in 3D. And I think I wasn't high enough there, so I'm just going to do that again. Now if you're scanning down a ship, you need to use the combat probes. And ships move, so you have to be really fast and know what you're doing. Now we can see here that I actually bookmarked this yesterday, so it's an unstable wormhole, but I'll keep probing it down. And you'll be able to see from the symbols that this is a worm. And there we go, it's gone green, which means that up here I can either warp to it or save the location. Now, something that you will at some point forget to do is to click this button, which recalls your probes. Whether they're probes or drones, we've all warped off without them at some point. And then you close it, and what we can just do is warp to the wormhole that I bookmarked. Right click to reload the probes into the scanner. If you've got more than 8, if you've got 16 probes, it'll automatically load in the next 8, as long as you're not cloaked. And there it is, there's the wormhole. By the way, if you click I, the info on the wormhole, it'll tell you where it goes to. This is unknown parts of space. It's wormhole space. So I'm not going in there. So I mentioned the skills earlier. Astrometrics is the basic, and it increases all 3 of the qualities that I mentioned before. But you've also got specific skills for astrometric acquisition, which reduces the scan time of the probes, astrometric pinpointing, which reduces scan deviation, and astrometric rangefinding, Rangefinding, which increases the scan strength of probes. Another way to think about it is reducing scanning deviation is the more accurate finding of sites and targets, and increasing probe scanning strength is to find sites with a smaller signature, like harder to scan sites. And I'll say thanks to Zeronin for the easy explanation. As well as the skills to increase these three qualities, you can also get specific arrays which also address acquisition, pinpointing and range finding. They all go in the mid slots. There is a rig called the Gravity Capacitor Upgrade, which increases the ship's scan probe strength. And finally, you can get Potec Prospector Astrometric implants for pinpointing, acquisition and range finding. Hopefully I've given you a very basic overview of how scanning and probes work in EveOnline. If you're interested in trying it out and you're new and you don't want any risk associated with this, then I'm giving away up to 50 fully fit frigates to anyone who wants them. All you have to do is make sure that you are subscribed to Magaibo on YouTube and comment with the character name that you'd like me to contract the ship over to and what race of ship you prefer from Amarr, Caldari, Gallente and Minmatar. And then let me know how you get on. So I'm Magaibo, thanks for watching. I'll see you again next time.